everybody, it's Spencer. I just wanted to talk about today's partner who is helping us produce shows all through the classic season, and it's Join Cycling. Join is the #1 cycling tool that sets you up with dynamic and flexible training plans based on your goal, availability, and training history. All you have to do is go download the Join Cycling app, and you can get a month free if you're a Beyond the Peloton listener at join.cc/campaign/beyond-the-peloton, or just follow the link in the show notes and you'll get 30 days of the app for free. It's a fantastic app. I've been using it to help get myself in shape for the summer season. All you have to do is enter your current fitness, what you want to achieve, and how long in the future you want to achieve it, and Join will auto-generate workouts for you every day, and they'll do running or cycling. So if you say, well, traveling, I travel a lot for the show, for the newsletter, and all I have to do is say, well, I don't have time for a ride, just give me a 30-minute run, and it will just go back into the back end, crunch some numbers, throw me a 30-minute run workout. I'm also notoriously bad with coaches. I don't respond to authority well, but the Join training plans are easy for me to follow, and I feel like I'm getting a lot out of it. And later in this episode, you'll hear how we're using Join to try to get Andrew embedded with the World Tour team for a training camp, or possibly even a race in the 2025 season. So enjoy the episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Beyond the Peloton podcast. I'm Spencer Martin, author of the Beyond the Peloton newsletter. I'm here with my co-host, Andrew Vance of the Choose the Hard Way podcast and newsletter. He's now on Substack. We're talking Amstel Gold, Flèche Wallonne, and the upcoming Liège-Bastogne-Liège, as well as a deep dive, most likely into Andrew's current vacation, his whereabouts in Charleston, West Virginia, or South Carolina. That's what people will have to guess. Is he scouting out the U.S. Nationals road course with his family? We don't know. But Andrew, how are you doing? Do you have anything to plug before we get going?
Yeah, Spencer, as our listeners know, the masters of the universe kind of congregate to listen to this podcast. And that's why, I know that we've got a lot of CEOs, founders, VCs, and if you're a senior executive, political leader, or a pro athlete, because I know we also have a lot of those folks listening to the show, you know that going on a podcast is now part of your job. And if you happen to catch the Theo Von profile in the New York Times, he said, if something's too much behind the glass these days, people don't trust the glass. You have to show up as a real person when you go on a podcast, and you better be great at it when you get your at bat. And that's why I started One Real Voice. It's the strategic podcast consultancy where I coach you to be a great guest or host in high stakes, long form conversational formats. So if you're serious about being great at doing that, and if you're listening to this podcast and are a master of the universe, you better be, then go to onerealvoice.com, and you can always DM me at HardwayPod to get started. And Spencer and I also are going to be talking about another upcoming project where we're trying to get me sent to the Tour de France to help a world tour team actually have successful content and social media presence this summer. We have a radical idea that we're going to talk about. We'll get to that in a minute. We have bigger fish to fry. Tour of the Gila, of course, happening this week. Spencer, where do we start?
There's too much. Let's just walk away. Sorry, there's too much, guys. Yeah, we will put a pin in the Andrew to the World Tour. Started as a joke, I think, and then now I actually have a serious proposal that I think could be quite interesting. But we'll not lead off with that. Andrew, let's start with Amstel Gold, because I think one of the more interesting races of the year. I'm a big fan of this Pogačar smash style of like, hey, I'm the strongest rider. Why don't I just go? Oh, look, I dropped everybody. Now I can keep up with me. I won. Pretty smart way to race. I think this was the rare example where that did not work, because the man had raced Paris-Roubaix the week before. And you might think, oh yeah, Paris-Roubaix, that's hard. Okay. It's a week later. I looked it up. There's only one rider that's ever won Roubaix, and then Amstel the week later. So this guy finished second at both races. If you didn't see the race, Mattias Skjelmose, the 24-year-old Dane, on Little Trek, won in fantastic, upset fashion in a 3-up sprint with Remco Evenepoel. Tadej Pogačar got second. Evenepoel third. Shows you why, if you're really strong, you should never let a race come down to a sprint, because you don't know what's going to happen. But it's like super rare. Like even, let's say Mathieu van der Poel, like he was unbeatable at Roubaix. Last year, the guy got something like 22nd at Amstel Gold. So it's almost impossible to do well. You might think, I'm just going to see how this race plays out. Nope. Julian Alaphilippe attacks an attack that was never going to work. Like, let's be clear. He lit a fuse. It was a short fuse. It went boom. And then Pogačar goes. It's not a great course for it. It's like one of the worst courses to try to stay away because it's fast. Like there's hills, but they're rolling. So the group rolls fast. The chase group like often comes back. The race comes back together. Like most famously 2019 where Van der Poel caught on, after being like a minute down with 5K to go and then won the sprint. But I just, things didn't look that thought out. And then he gets reeled in by an attacking Remco Evenepoel, Skjelmose. Probably the thing I want to call out the most is everyone's sitting in that group with Evenepoel. I don't quite know what the thought process is for most of them, but Skjelmose says, I'm getting out of here because this guy's going to try to bridge and no one can ever hold his wheel. We know that. We have evidence of that. I'm going. He attacks. He's like noodling off the front there, dangling. Evenepoel bridges with something like, let's say 25K to go, picks him up. And then by the time he picks him up, he's not trying to drop him. He's thinking, oh, this is a buddy I can have to help me get up to Pogačar. They bridge up. A little like overconfidence from Evenepoel when he catches Pogačar. He thought like, yeah, I'll just take this as a sprint. Skjelmose is like the Kaiser Sose there. If you rewatch the race, it's like he's sitting on the wheels the entire time. It's like, what are you guys doing? And Skjelmose just sits on that wheel. He pulls once on the Kohlberg to make sure they don't get caught because he's thinking, oh boy, I got a podium finish here. I don't want to let it go to waste. And they did have the Wout van Aert group closing in on him fast. And then he wins the sprint because they let him sprint from third wheel. Shocking, yes, kind of in the moment. But then if you look back, you're like, well, of course he won that because he's sprinting from the most advantageous position. And those guys are tired. And also Evenepoel, sure, he won, what was that, Brabantse Pijl on Friday. So like 3 days before. But if you go back and watch that race, Wout was pinned leading into that sprint. Evenepoel sat up and let these guys sit like well below threshold for minutes before that sprint. And then, of course, he didn't win it. He also launched it from 300 meters. So, as Chris Horner would say, knucklehead behavior from both Pogačar and Evenepoel, I feel like. And it was nice to see Skjelmose finally break the logjam. This is the one race, Amstel Gold is the one race where, like, outsiders have won. And by outsiders, I mean riders who won the Tour of Switzerland at 22 and Tom Pidcock have won, and Mikkel Kwiatkowski, a former world champion, have won in the last few years. It's like the one day that a lesser rider, so to speak, can pick it off. But what were you thinking when this race wrapped up, Andrew? I thought it was maybe one of the best races of the year.
I mean, Spencer, this was a big moment. I have been waiting all year to say the moose is loose. The moose is loose. He's out there. He's charging. And the other thought that I had watching this race was when Remco rolled up on Pog, he went straight through. And I mean, psychologically, nice move. And then he just started doing some of those classic Remco moves that we've missed for the past several months, like telling people like Pog to pull through. Looking back.
Well, after he ripped through, it's like, well, dude, yeah, he's not going to work with you. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So it's good to see Remco is not just back. He's fully back, right? Because we know we saw him yelling at other people to pull through after riding somewhat erratically. And then, of course, following the race, we saw that the one thing that the Rex did not take away from Remco is his unlimited ability to produce excuses for not winning bike races and never take responsibility for how he actually rode.
Well, we talk a lot about the German energy crisis on this podcast. I think we found that they could just the whole country could run on Remco's excuses. So disrespectful to Skjelmose. Just not to be like, great ride. Wow. Yeah. What a rider. Really got me. I'm going to try to get him next weekend. No, he's like, I would have won if I wouldn't have crashed. It's like, okay, awesome. Thanks, bud.
Yeah. He has not learned the art of the pull string doll at the finish line, which, it is the appropriate thing to do. I mean, we've heard it from Mathieu van der Poel and from Pog in the rare instances when they've been defeated this year from Pog, it always seems quite genuine. From Van der Poel, I'm not sure, but he says the right thing. And he always says, the strongest rider won today. There's nothing more I could have done. Or, you know what? You would have done it, pal. So
with Van der Poel, I do feel like there's sometimes he's almost like, I cannot believe someone just beat Matthew Van der Poel.
Oh, completely.
Like,
but
he's impressed
right
that could happen. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine?
Can you imagine that guy losing?
Can you imagine that?
He's amazing.
Actually, I don't want to go too off topic here, but something that I have in my notes, because I've been thinking about this all week, Spencer. A lot of talk post Paris-Roubaix about Mathieu van der Poel's position in the drops. I know that you brought it up, just how aerodynamic this guy is in the drops. And we talked last week about, why was Pog on the hoods? Was it because he can't ride in the drops and get his aero? Is Van der Poel something that I started to think about that I wanted to get your take on? If, let's say we eliminate time trial bikes, which it's this old canard again. I don't like time trial bikes. I want them eliminated.
I support this, by the way. Yeah. I think it would be awesome.
Right.
If they did in the road bikes.
So I was thinking about, okay, Pog's won the Tour multiple times. We've never really seen Mathieu van der Poel take time trialing on time trial bikes seriously. He's even said this, that he doesn't ride his time trial bike for months. And I was thinking about the finish of Paris-Roubaix and the fact that Pog has to be one of the best time trialists in the world. That's part of why he can time trial the way he does at the Tour. So why is he getting beaten in what's essentially a time trial at the end of Paris-Roubaix when they're on regular bikes? So if we have these guys, like, let's say in a time trial only event, like the what's the one at the end of the year? Is it the GP Nations? I don't remember. There's
right. What is that? It's something like that.
Yeah, but they have a one-day event, so they're not exhausted from doing a Grand Tour, and all they're focused on is a time trial. They're on conventional bikes, and let's say it's rolling terrain. Who wins?
I think it's Remco Evenepoel, unfortunately. That guy they're on conventional or they're on road bikes?
They're on conventional bikes, and we've got Remco, we've got Pog, and we've got Van der Poel.
Well, in Ghana.
And Ghana, yes. Right.
I probably think that Remco wins. I don't know. He's just so fast in those especially a one-off time trial. But you could say, I'm look. You said Van der Poel's never tried a time trial. It rung a bell. Stage 5, 2021 Tour de France. He's in the yellow jersey. He goes all out, finishes 5th. Probably has never ridden his time trial bike in training before. Right. 30 seconds behind the winner, Tadej Pogačar. Still a pretty good result. Tied with Wout van Aert, actually. So he does well, but I don't know. Time trialing's weird because you're like, well, if Van der Poel can ride away from everyone at the end of Roubaix, can't he win time trials? But I guess also Roubaix is 6 hours long and a time trial is like 45 minutes long. So that also plays into it.
Yeah, if you stick a time trial in the middle of the Tour, though, and it's still, durability is a factor.
Yeah, wildly.
Right? It's not like you're waking up that day fresh as a daisy. And we can't forget that in 2021 Stage 5, Mathieu van der Poel, of course, had Cam Wurf's Princeton Works wheels that were driven from another country. So he had that edge that
Cam Wurf, who was under contract with another team, a rival team. Yeah. It's still like really strange to me that happened. If I was any of us, I'd be like, why did you do that?
Another team that rode different bikes with a different equipment sponsor, but Cam Wurf was the plug. He was the missing link. Somehow I've seen triathlon content related to Cam Wurf this year. I think I messaged you about this. Cam Wurf got DQ'd from, by the way, I'm not a triathlete myself. This just happened to have come into my sphere of consciousness. I feel like I need a preface about consuming triathlon content. Cam Wurf, Ironman 70.3, Oceanside, won by Lionel Sanders. Cam Wurf gets DQ'd for exceeding the speed limit on a downhill. I guess there's a downhill. It's inside a military base that race passed through. passes through. And I think, unfortunately, someone died on that in a wreck on that descent a couple of years ago. So the Ironman organization has created this rule where you get DQ'd if you go, I don't know, it's not a very high speed limit either. It's like 35 miles an hour or something. He gets DQ'd from the race, which really made me question triathlon as a sport after I heard about this.
Just that the fact that like someone dying at a race would actually change how they allow people to race the race. Like this isn't a real sport, like cycling.
Yeah. That and you have professional athletes and they get disqualified for going too fast.
That's crazy.
It seemed a little strange to me. Yeah.
The thing about Remco in aero, so if they did time trials on road bikes, Remco Evenepoel would win every one. So that move where you were talking about, he comes by Pogačar.
Right.
It's like, what are we doing, man? Is this the bus stop ride? That's like so amateur. Like
he looked back too. He looked back.
You're not going to drop him. It's like what he's dangling 4 seconds behind, and then Skjelmose is pulling through with you to drop Pogačar. That's not going to happen. And a lot took a lot of energy. No, the trust is broken. Pogačar's not going to work with you. Like the race, he essentially lost the race right there because now he's going to have to sit on the front until the finish. The thing that I'm glad he did it because it was this perfect example of how aero he is. Like he's not out of the saddle. He's just like in a TT position on the road bike, and he comes by with so much like it's like vicious pace. And Pogačar's out of the saddle sprinting, and Evenepoel's just sitting in the saddle, putting out in probably quite a lot of power, but then effective more power because he's so aero while doing it. It was quite impressive. But yeah, I still don't quite understand. Like sometimes he races a bit like it's like a junior or something. Like what are you doing? This is the best rider in the world. You're not going to just catch him out and pop him off your wheel with 8K to go at Amstel Gold.
Yes. And in that scenario, and every time I see Remco get into a 1 or 2 up break like this, just the other riders, they're not getting any drafts. Like you can see them, and it's not just when he comes by. It's like you're sitting on that guy's wheel. I actually, when I was watching that, thought that I had was, is it worse to be on the wheel of Remco Evenepoel or Victor Campenaerts? And we need to talk to our World Tour friends and get a read on this. Who's actually more aero and has a lower CDA with the worst draft? I think Campenaerts might be shorter than Remco. I need to fact check myself. I could be wrong.
Might be. I think Campenaerts probably more aero. Evenepoel puts out more power. So that's probably the worst. But you bring up a good point. I don't know if we talked about the Wout loss. That might have happened after we recorded, but he's sitting on Evenepoel's wheel for like 55K at Brabant's Appeal. And then Evenepoel wins because he's asphyxiating Wout. Like you're getting no draft. And then when Evenepoel's in Wout's draft, he must be putting out very low watts, very low, like getting all the draft. And then when it's reversed, Wout van Aert's not getting any draft. If you think about Amstel Gold, he didn't set up that same situation because Skjelmose only had to sit in his draft for 22K or something is when he caught him. Last time in the draft, he slowed up at 8K. So those guys are all getting a break at 8K to go. Really, if he wanted to win that race, he needed to attack. The roles were reversed. He should have attacked when Pogačar did, because then he would have had longer to asphyxiate people on his wheel. Let's say Pogačar follows him, has to hold his wheel that whole time. Maybe he's fatigued enough that he can't sprint. He's not going to drop him, but he'll probably out sprint him if that happens. And so if you look, like when Pogačar attacked, Evenepoel was sitting at the back, which is still something that I can't quite believe. I mean, I know he crashed and he was getting back in, but it's Amstel Gold, man. Like you got to be at the front, like where Pogačar is, if you want to beat Pogačar, because this is Zurich all over again, where he attacked and you weren't in position to follow him, and then now you're stuck chasing him.
Spencer, any final thoughts here before we move on to Flèche?
Well, only final thought is a little bit of like, society is quite reactive. Just like after this race, it's like Pogačar is washed up. He's never going to win again. Jonas going to win the Tour? Hold that thought, because 3 days later, Flèche Wallonne rolls around, and no, the answer is no. He's not washed up, because that was maybe when Pogačar won. It's basically a single climb race. They like ride around in Wallonia, the French-speaking part of Belgium. Who knows what they do? Like I never really paid that close attention to actually what's going on in that race. There's a climb at the end. UAE makes it hard. presumably so Evenepoel couldn't attack before the final climb. They get to the final climb, terrible weather, which probably made the race harder. There's no one there because they've stripped it down to almost nothing. And then Pogačar just like seated, rides everyone off his wheel on one of the steepest climbs in Belgium. Probably got to be one of the hardest climbs in Belgium. Wins by, it was like, what did he win by? It was the largest margin of victory since 2023. And yeah, he's fit. He's fit. Evenepoel's not as fit as him, not as good at climbing. He won by 10 seconds over Kevin Vauquelin. Tom Pidcock, 12 seconds back. 10 seconds is a massive gap on a 1 kilometer climb, by the way. But what were your thoughts from this race?
I think a lot of thoughts that I had were related to my washing machine dying, and trying to replace it, which was difficult. Haven't quite figured that out. But as it relates to pro cycling, a couple of thoughts that I had. One, I haven't done the research yet. I'm wondering about Remco and bad weather. Do you have any insights here?
I'm trying to think of other examples. He doesn't race a lot. It's kind of like Van der Poel, where we don't have a huge sample size because, like, if you think about stage races, the Tour was obviously good weather last year, a little chilly at times, but nothing terrible. Really, he doesn't race a lot in the spring. He's not a big spring classics guy. Right. UAE Tour, Catalunya, Liège. He won 2 Lièges, and maybe not the best weather, but the competition wasn't super high. And then the only other time I can think of is, remember the Giro where he got COVID?
Right.
And there was some not good weather. Like there was that time trial, he had COVID. So like, who knows what the deal was, but it finished in Cesena is how I say the town. I think it's probably like Cesenina. But he just had he wins the time trial. It's a little chilly, little rainy, and his eyes were like so messed up. Like, it's like, this guy is on death's door, but he was sick. But that was like the real, when you say Remco bad weather, I think of that time trial.
Yeah.
He performed, actually, he only beat Geraint Thomas by a second, Theo Gegenhardt by 2, Stefan Kung by 4. And again, he had COVID, but probably, I mean, and how much is he, I don't know. Like, if a rider like that, I think about like Van der Poel a lot too. Like, how much is he even training in bad weather? Because Van der Poel, he's living life the correct way. Like, he's just private jetting to Spain whenever he's not racing in Belgium. So probably isn't around terrible weather a lot. I don't know. It's a good point. I mean, it definitely took it out of him. Like, he was nowhere on the final climb yesterday, Evenepoel. So clearly was not feeling his absolute best.
Yeah. I mean, he's a Belgian. You'd think this is what this guy must be good at. On the other hand, he came into cycling really late in life from football, soccer, right? So as a junior, he wasn't out there doing kermesses in horrible weather all the time. And another thing that struck me about Remco this week, if Quickstep ends up being the team that brings me on for a 2-week period during the Tour de France as a member of their team, I will probably bring sunscreen. I'm concerned about the helmet strap tan issue that Remco has. Did you notice this?
Yeah, it's extreme, which I guess tells you he's been training not in Belgium.
Yes, and I don't think that he's using adequate sunscreen. A
lot of these guys don't use sunscreen.
Oh, okay. Is there is this like an air conditioning? You don't use air conditioning type of thing?
I was in Tucson, like, riding with people that had won pretty big races. And like, first of all, I was like, are we going to have breakfast? Like, breakfast, that will kill you. And then the second one, I was like, oh, does anyone have sunscreen? Like, sunscreen, that will kill you. Like, well, what will kill you is getting big sunburns, like getting skin cancer. That's not good either. But yeah, I don't know if it's like a macho thing, or I haven't fully figured this out. But I know some teams like Visma makes people sunscreen up. Like, that's one of their big things, because if you're getting sunburns in a stage race, it's like draining your body you have an illness, but you have radiation poisoning. So sunscreen is important. A lot of riders do not wear it.
Yeah. I don't know. That really jumped out at me. Another thing from this race, I was just digging back through the results of Kevin Vauquelin. Am I saying this right?
Yeah, Vauquelin. Kevin Vauquelin.
Vauquelin. So this is the second year he gets second at this race. And I'm wondering, he's 23. Why is this kid on Arkea? Why has he not gotten picked up? By another team. Like,
Very
what?
good question.
Right? Like,
He
we're
won
talking a money ball. Yeah.
stage 2 of the Tour de France from a breakaway. Second
Right.
place. Remember, this was like the stage where Jonas Pogačar attacked and Jonas went with him. I was confused why he stayed there after last year, because as you say, he gets second at Flèche, wins stage 2 of the Tour. If you're French, remember this guy Victor Lafay? He won that, I think it was stage 2 as well, of the Tour in 2023.
Yeah.
Got a big contract, has not been seen since. Whereabouts unknown.
Right.
But traditionally, as a French rider, that's when you sign the big contract and we never see you again. I have no idea why he stayed at Arkea. Like, the answer must be sporting. He liked something about the team, thought it gave him the best chance to succeed. He's clear, like, Arkea is not going to be World Tour next year, and they might not even exist. So he will go somewhere else for 2026. My only guess is he wanted to go to a specific team, didn't like the specific situation for 2025, wanted to go there in 2026. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, because it is weird he's on this team.
Yes, I'm digging back through his results. So it looks like he does a lot of the French Demi Classics sub World Tour events when he's not at the and then he comes up and does this. It's like, I mean, there are not a lot of riders who can do what this guy did. I just don't understand it.
It's weird he's not on like decathlon, because he's a French guy who can time trial and climb. Do you know how rare that is?
Right.
The guy could be making like 10 million euros a year on a French team doing that. I don't get it at all.
Yeah, former French national time trial champion as well. And jog my memory here, Arkea, they are on Bianchi bikes. Is that correct?
Oh, man. I think about Arkea so little. It's like Don Draper in the elevator. They are on Bianchi bikes.
Yeah. So this guy is not on peak tech. Right?
He's on the bike that cost Primoz the Tour.
Yes. Just something to think about. So that struck me. Another thing that really jumped out at me in this event was, actually, I know we're going to talk about the Tour of the Gila in a moment. Spencer, I'm sure you noticed this as well. The use of McNulty early on in the race, not as someone to set pace on the climb, but as a sweeper on Pog's wheel so that Pog automatically had separation, I thought was quite interesting. Did you notice this?
Yeah, I was going through the video last night, and it's a really good idea, especially on that course, because it's all about, if you get a little bit of a gap, you're gone. And they were even messing with Remco, where it would be McNulty and I think it was Jan Christian in front, and then they'd set up. There's with 5K to go. Pogačar goes to the front on the descent, and they just let the gap go, and then Evenepoel has to ride around them to get up to the front. Definitely a lot of shenanigans going on. It's a super smart idea. I think people think of like the Sky Train, where they're like, oh, it's everyone's in front of Froome. But now the big thing is to have people behind your leader to do exactly what you're saying, create separation when they attack. You have to be really good, though, I guess, is the caveat. You have to be Brandon McNulty, who could be a leader on a team and is choosing to work for you.
Yeah, and you're foregoing having him be in front and set pace, which
you're so good that you're I don't need the draft.
But that really jumped out at me, and because I've been thinking a lot about Tulsa Tough and some of those techniques being used at the World Tour level. The other thing that jumped out at me was the whole race. I was just like, where's Tom Pidcock? What's going on with this guy? And then he had his moment. I was like, okay, he's in the frame. He's going to be an animator here at the finish. And then, just like, really, to me, the sleeper hero of this spring season, Mr. Consistency, Michael Matthews. Like, Michael Matthews in fifth place, beating Tom Pidcock, Tish Benoot. This guy is an animal.
Wait, you got to be looking at Amstel results.
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Michael Matthews is an animal, by the way. He almost, I didn't mention this with Amstel, I meant to. It easily could have been won by one of Wout van Aert or Michael Matthews. That gap got too big. We didn't really see what happened because we were focused on Evenepoel and Skjelmose reeling in Pogačar, but that chase group was right there, and then they were a minute behind, and then they finished 30 seconds behind. So if they limit those losses with like 20K to go to 8K to go, Matthews or Van Aert wins that race. Like Matthews easily could have won that. Like that's unbelievable to think about. He is so consistent. Also, Wout van Aert gets fourth at Roubaix, fourth at Amstel. No one's going to give a shit about those results. I've been reading L'Équipe every day. They're giving this guy grief. What's wrong with him? He's lost his confidence. He's scared of Van der Poel. That's the narrative in the French press. But man, that's hard to do. That's very hard to do. Get fourth at both of those races. Almost never been done before. But on Flèche, Ben Healy got fifth. Another Mr. Consistency. Super impressive. Pidcock got third, which is good. That's a good building block for him.
It's good.
I was thinking all of Amstel, like, where is Tom Pidcock? Because if you think about like that Skjelmose move, like that should have been Tom Pidcock, or like, what is he thinking? How is he not glued to Evenepoel's wheel when Evenepoel's clearly trying to attack and bridge across to the leaders? Like that, I had a lot of questions after Amstel about how he's approaching the spring.
Yeah, I have to imagine this is like having Juice WRLD or Young Lean as your team leader. It's kind of just like, it's just real vibey, you know?
Real vibey.
Yeah, just day to day, who knows what's going to happen in extreme.
It's like Amstel, that's not even a good of a race for me. It's like, well, you're defending champion here. Nah, it's not a good course for me. He just decides he's always like, man, Roubaix, I don't like that race. It's like, you were talking about Paris-Roubaix for the last 5 years, and how are you going to win it? What are you talking about? What's going on? Are we going crazy, Tom Pidcock?
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. I'm just trying to think, is there anything else to discuss here?
You know who's Mr. Consistency that we never talk about? We maybe have never mentioned his name on this podcast. Santiago Buitrago.
Yes.
He gets fifth. No, he got fifth last year. He got, oh God, I've lost it. Sixth this year. I think in 2023, I'm going back, he got third at Liège. He was like the forgotten man on the podium behind Evenepoel and Pidcock. Really good stage racer. Like been piecing together some really like early season stage races. He's the one who beat Almeida at Valenciana. Just keep an eye on this guy. He's not going to the Giro. I often feel like he should go to the Giro more than he does. He's going to the Tour. But at least for Liège on Sunday, like he's probably not going to win because Pogačar is there. But for second place, that is a guy that I would really keep an eye on.
Yes. Another thought is Thibaut Nice at Flèche. We've seen, Thibaut Nice having a breakout season, which we've expected for a long time. The thing that I've been reflecting on here for a rider of his magnitude of talent with his lineage, his dad, of course, Sven Nys, the most legendary until modern times, until the times of Van der Poel, cyclocross rider ever, I would say. But Thibaut Nice, is he Galactico material? Can you grow into that? Or
no, that's a good question.
Is he somebody who's going to be great, but not a Galactico? Because watching him come up, I personally had some expectations that this kid might come into the sport when he hit the World Tour level, the way we saw Pog, Van der Poel, Wout, where you're just like, your mind is blown the second they get on a road bike. And he is a great rider. He's not that kind of rider so far.
It's funny you mentioned this. You're like a plant. And I had a conversation with someone on Sunday about like the Galacticos are the Galacticos and they seem unstoppable now, but a new set of Galacticos will come and disrupt them. I completely disagree. I think we're watching historically great riders. And if you really follow sports closely, like think about tennis, like who's the new Djokovic, Nadal, Federer? They're not coming. Like it's not happening because those guys were the best, like, and if you like think about back to the 2010s, I did not like those years. I love, like, that's why I loved Peter Sagan so much, because he was like this only flair, and people were winning. I don't think we said this on the podcast. We were talking about it privately, but like in 2012, I had like a 5.1 watt per kilo threshold power. The tour climbs were being climbed at like 5.5 watts per kilo. So I'm like, man, I'm right there. Now they're being climbed at like 7 watts per kilo. Like the level of competition was just not that good. Like Romain Bardet got second at the Tour as a worse rider than he is now. So these things do wax and wane. Like when the Galacticos go away, we're going to go back. Like it's like the Roman Empire falling in Europe, falling into the Dark Ages. That's what it will be like. It will suck. So cherish these guys while they're here, because you're going to have people noodling around at 5 WKG at the and on the Alpe d'Huez contesting wins there. But on Thibaut Nice, we should say he's 20 at 22. I think he had won like multiple World Tour races because he racked up a bunch of stages at the Tour of Poland. Not easy. That is a World Tour race. Won a stage of the Tour of Romandy last year as well. Like, so he's winning World Tour races at a very young age. How old he is right now? He's 22. So he must have been 21 when he was winning those races. That's a big deal. We should caveat every conversation we have about him with that. Crazy to come in and win that many races at 21. Someone like people on Twitter were like, Thibaut Nice is so much better than Peter Sagan at the same age. And I just got upset. I got very upset because you know what Peter Sagan did when he was 20 years old? He won 2 stages of Paris-Nice. Like that's impressive. And by the time he was 22, I believe he had something like 30 pro victories, with 20 of them almost being World Tour. Peter Sagan was good. I will stand up for him. But Thibaut Nice, you bring up an interesting question because will he be a Galactico? Probably not. Think about Mathieu van der Poel in his first Flanders. I was like, is this guy really that good? And he's over on the sidewalk with no hands and flipping over the bars. And they're like, this guy sucks. And then this was before the Clermont, and he chased back on and got 4th, I believe. Like that's like, it was jaw-dropping stuff. Right. And then that's the year he won Amstel Gold with like one of the most impressive rides you've ever seen. Meanwhile, he's not even like the good one, because Wout van Aert is winning a sprint stage, a time trial stage, and mountain stage at the Tour de France. So to me, and those guys were older, we should say, because they were delayed. They had like arrested development because they were racing off-road so much. So we will caveat it with that. But to me, it's like the pornography ruling in the Supreme Court. Like, you know it when you can't define a Galactico, but you know it when you see it. And if you're having to squint, it's not a Galactico. And I don't know if you can. He will be a very good rider, and he may be a dominant classics rider after those guys are out of their prime, because no one will come in and fill them. I actually think a guy like Thibaut Nice will be winning lots of monuments because there will be no second wave of Galacticos. There's guys like Morgado who are really talented, but do they have the well-roundedness of, Van der Poel's unique because he's so talented, and he's like, I'm going to work on riding in the drops on the cobbles for 6 hours straight. Like, no one does that. Why would you do that? That's an insane thing to do. Just coast on your talent. So what we're seeing with the Galacticos, I don't think is going to be replicated, and riders like Thibaut Nice will probably benefit from it. Not a Galactico is the ruling. Watch him win Liège at 22.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of the rider I believe he might be most directly analogous to, and in terms of level of talent, and I think it's somebody on his team. I see him as like a Mads Pedersen level rider.
Ooh,
right? Which, I mean, world champion, multiple classics wins. Yeah, so I think that's probably going to be the future for Thibaut Nice. And if you think about it, I believe that Mads is definitely leaving Little Trek, maybe even mid-season, but definitely in 2026, he's not going to be on that team. But when I look at the Little Trek team right now compared to a couple of years ago, this team is stacked. I mean, look at the hitters that we've got on this team. Jonathan Milan, Quinn Simmons, Thibaut Nice, Mads Pedersen. I'm forgetting a few other people.
Skjelmose.
I mean,
but you forget, like, Thibaut Nice was the leader of the team going into Amstel Gold, and another guy in the team wins. I mean, that's not the first time that's happened to them this year.
Yeah, just absolutely stacked. One other note here on Flèche. What is going on with George Bennett's drivetrain? Did he borrow this off of Mark Cavendish's bike? Like what is going on?
I don't know. I feel like he always is. George Bennett's not my favorite rider. I don't know how much I want to say about him. He likes to complain. I'm sure we got like a very well said 15-minute rant about that drivetrain at the finish line. But
did you see the moment in the race when his chain got jammed though? I mean,
Yeah.
I get it, but it's like, what's going on?
Well,
how does that even happen in 2025? I don't know. I mean, it happens to me, but I don't have a world tour mechanic wrenching on my bike, as
I
you
talked
know.
to someone. Yeah. Well, do you know? They're building up the Laufs right now.
Yeah.
At home. That's why you guys are out of the house. So you can have your team of mechanics embedded at the home, dialing them in. I did talk to someone about this, and they were a product person for stages. So they would like go to training camps and like help them set up the power meters and the head units. And they were basically like, this is like F1 where you have a product and you think it's good, and then it gets put through like such a difficult situation that all the consumer stuff breaks because it's not really designed to do what they're doing with it. So you're just like, how could these chains be jammed? How could this be breaking? It's because these conditions are above and beyond what they were ever designed to do, and they have to do a lot of weird modifications, and it can cause things to fall off, I guess. I mean, even if we could go noodle around on our road bikes and we're not having any chain issues, we could jump in a group ride, and then any inconsistency with the chain line could result in a jammed chain, I guess. I would be going one by, especially for a race like Flèche. I guess if you're Shimano, you don't have that choice though.
Yeah, again, this is orthogonal to what we're talking about. I've been thinking a lot about how the ultimate travel bike for if you're going to go road ride somewhere, I'm now thinking is one by SRAM with the Axis super wide range rear derailleur UHD, so you can't break off your derailleur hanger in the bike bag with rim brakes. This is never getting made, and your frame needs to be able to take, I don't know, 35s on a rim brake road bike. So this is a fantasy that I have. As you know, Spencer, I elected not to ruin my family's time here in Charleston by attempting to go ride a road bike, and it didn't seem like it was going to be possible anyway. And now that I've seen one person on a road bicycle during my time here thus far, if you're a listener and you're in the Charleston area, you can DM me at Hardway Pod and let me know what you think about my take. Doesn't seem, at least here in the city center and within several miles of it, like I would want to be on a road bicycle. A lot of inattentive drivers. And if I were road riding though, I think one by super wide range rear cassette rim brakes.
Now I've on the rim brake, we got a new car, had to clean out the garage and make some room for it. And my wife is poking around over in the bike corner, and she's like, "Why is there a bike in a bag over here?" I'm like, well, that's the travel bike. That's got the rim brakes. Okay, we don't talk about the travel bike that lives in the bag. You're ready to go. You just zip it up. But yeah, I mean, if I feel like we're out of touch. I don't want to recommend anyone do this, but if you can afford to do it, steal your team bike at the end of your term with the team and use that for your travel bike, because rim brakes are so much easier to travel with. I also love as you're talking, to just remember, like, so we're going to Charleston for the week for family vacation. Well, I got to bring the bike.
Yeah, totally.
Of course, I'm bringing the bike.
Let me ruin our first vacation in a decade. A dad's got to get out for 2 to 4 hours on a bike.
Yeah, I'm like still not in a great place about it, but my family's going to be in London for the summer. I have to leave to come back for a project in the States, and I'm going to be in London for like 3 weeks before. And my wife's like, "Well, you're not going to bring the bike, right?" Like, well, 3 weeks in London? Gotta bring the bike. What are you talking about? What are you talking? Of course I'll have the bike, honey. Before we get into our joint cycling sponsored segment about Andrew being on the world tour, any thoughts on Liège? What do you think is going to happen? I think probably Flèche. The fact that it's way harder than Flèche tells us all we need to know. But do you think any surprises there?
I think the big surprise is that the Tour of Gila is going on this week, and we didn't even talk about it. We've got Scott McGill there. Eric Brunner won the ITT to kick off. We've got the Gila Monster coming up. I don't know, is that...
Wait, they started with the TT?
Yeah.
What? I thought it was always Gila Monster first day. No. Yeah, and it finishes on the Mogollon. Wow. I can't get First Cycling to load. Well,
yeah, they don't have any Gila results on Pro Cycling Stats, unfortunately. So clearly we're going to need to talk to the founder of the site. They don't have some of the most important results in the sport.
Can you imagine?
we need to get the Olathe Wednesday night Bud distributorship criterium results as well.
There is. If you go on First Cycling, they have like an amateur section, and they do have results like that.
That's amazing.
But
That's
then
like, I think as part of the build up to the tour, it would be incredible if we could get back to a Dioleta Budweiser distributorship.
oh man, that would be awesome. It's probably so fast now.
Yeah,
probably
I'm
so
sure it is.
faster.
Yeah, it's got to be incredibly dangerous. It's got that downhill right, probably going like 40 miles an hour, probably some loose gravel that fell off the back of a Budweiser truck. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the opening TT. Brunner wins. Owen Wright. I feel it bad. I see a lot of these. This is, I guess if you're a top pro, like World Tour pro, sometimes I don't know anything about World Tour racing after they retire. And I kind of feel like that about US racing. It's like I was so close to it for so long that I don't pay that close of attention. Like, who's Owen Wright? He got second on Canel Java. Canel's Java? I don't even know that team. Caleb Clausen third. Kieran Haug fourth. What do we think of this racing? Like, there are some good riders. I'm looking at like Sam Boardman, really good rider. Eric Brunner, obviously really good rider, wins that. But does it feel like a lot of times, like, who do we think is going to win this race overall? Like, who's the big GC hitter in U.S. continental cycling right now?
I mean, I have to think it's McGill after what we saw him do at Nats.
I don't know if he can win the GC, though, with those climbs. I mean, we'll see.
There's some climbing at Nats. You don't think
Well, he also finished 3.5 minutes back in the first time trial. So that would take quite the ride, too.
You know what? He doesn't want to be a marked man when they go into the Gila Monster stage.
Well, this is such a different race. So it starts at the time trial. Stage 2 is Mogollon. Stage 3 is a McGill stage. He'll win that. Lock him in. Stage 4 is the crit, I believe. Stage 5.
Yeah.
They don't do the Gila Monster this year. What? The what?
Wow.
Maybe that's just a technical name for the Gila Monster. Pinos Altos. A New Mexican. Kip Taylor will know. We should have him on right now. It's crazy we're talking about this race without him.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. We should get the Kip take. Yeah, just looking at Brunner's season so far as well, 16th in GC at Redlands. Then he comes in with this smoking hot win in the Tyrone to Tyrone Stage 1 ITT. And I honestly, this is no joke. I think people like Eric Brunner and Scott McGill are the real heroes of professional cycling, doing the most they can with the talent that they have. And like somebody like Pog, I mean, the guy is an absolute legend. Also works extremely hard. And he just, he was dealt a different hand. Like watching him in the finish of that race yesterday, going back to like, what's the difference between a Galactico and Mortals? When I was watching Pog go up that climb, I was thinking about all of us have been out there. You're on Zwift, you're doing a full flag. Maybe you're in Griffith Park in LA doing Trash Truck Hill. And it's that moment in the interval when you're like, man, you're doing a VO2 interval. You're absolutely dead. You're like, I'm going to die if I keep going at this pace. And, you kind of do what you can to get to the amount of time you're supposed to do the interval for. When I watched Pog yesterday, when he hit what you would think the point when a normal human being would at least level off or slow down, he just kicks again and for like another minute or two. I've never seen a human being do something like this in my entire life, ever.
It pains me to say it, but like he was not my favorite rider, and I feel like his tours were like pulling teeth to watch. Chris Froome, I'm thinking like even like there was like a Von 2 stage where I was watching it thinking, I don't know how this is happening. It just like keeps accelerating when you think it's impossible. It feels like we're having like a veiled conversation. This is not like an allegation at Chris Froome, but it's just like, I don't understand what I'm looking at. How is this possible? Like that's the only other rider. And I love Pogačar. I think he's the best rider ever. Chris Froome was one of my least favorite tour winners, just not him personally, the way he rode and I felt
he didn't have a beautiful style.
And just like the way the defensive tactics of Ineos, it's like Pogačar. Here's a question for you before we move on.
Yeah.
And we get even deeper into domestic cycling. Johan Bernil had to take, if Pogačar raced like he did at Flèche, he would win even more, meaning like conservatively.
Yes.
I kind of don't want him to, I like him racing aggressively. I do think Amstel Gold's the perfect example of that. If he races more conservatively, he wins. George Hincapie had a good point though. Well, Johan, if he races more conservatively, he's also going to lose more because if he races conservatively at Flanders, he loses. So it is double-sided. I do kind of worry how his style will age. Think of Primož Roglič. The guy only like he will do the minimum amount of work necessary to win a race, and he's one of the best race winners we've ever seen. Like, he wins at an insane percentage.
Yeah.
Because he'll just like, well, I could attack with 5K to go, but I'll wait till 200 meters to go.
Yeah.
And I feel like that style is aging very well. It's like, well, what happens when Pogačar's 31 and he's attacking with 55K to go? Is that going to work as well? Or will he become, was this like a looper style event where Alaphilippe is the future version of Pogačar, still trying to race as though he's back in the glory days, but he no longer has the power to stay in front of the peloton? That's the only thing I've been thinking about negatively about Pogačar, where I'm like, is this the best way to extend your career? Or it's maybe just not that type of person. But Wednesday's Flèche did feel like if he wants to win for a long, long time, this is exactly how he should do it, because he did nothing basically in that race before that attack.
Yeah, I feel that once Pog completes Cold Harbor, he will retire from the sport. I don't think that it'll keep going forever. The guy has bloodlust. He's a total animal, as he should be. And I think he has some Palmares in mind. And once he ticks the boxes, I think, he goes on Dancing with the Stars, probably like gets his own like Maury Povich style talk show in Slovenia, maybe buys his own office chair manufacturing plant. That's where his father worked when he was a young man, and just enjoys the good life. Maybe like TED Talks, like who knows? But I don't think that his career is going, I don't think we're going to see this guy racing it. It's not going to be a Geraint Thomas trajectory. That's for sure.
Yeah. Usually most big champions have a 10-year spread between their first big win and their last big win. Like Lance, I think, is a little bit more, because what did he win? Worlds in 93, but even that is pretty close. Final Tour 2005. Like, he violated that rule, but just slightly. So like 12 would be the most. Eddie Merckx was, I think, a 10 or 11-year spread. So if he won the Tour in 2020, that tells us his last possible Tour win is 2030. It seems like a long way away now, but that's only, 5 more seasons? And I think you're right. I think when he's not winning Tours, we don't see him again. I mean, maybe like Contador is a good example, where Contador, I forgot how good he was. I went back and looked. There was a stretch where he started 6 Grand Tours in a row and won 6. The 6 he started, he won in a row, which is insane. I don't believe he ever finished second or third. And then when he was past his prime, he was still like trying, but not quite there. He got like 2 Vuelta wins he probably shouldn't, or he got a Giro win and a Vuelta win he probably shouldn't have. That his fitness was not at the level, but he still won. And then he was gone. I kind of think we see the same thing with Pogačar. And instead of on Eurosport, I am quite curious to see what his riding life will be like. Wait, before we go on, who's your pick for Liège?
I'm not ready. I'm like, who's yours?
It's Pogačar. He's winning.
I see we have Carapaz out there.
Yeah, I mean, Carapaz would have been shot into the netherworld on the Murdowi yesterday. He's not matching Pogačar.
Yeah, man. I'm thinking about like who's an outsider pick here. I'm not going to pick one of these riders, but did you notice that we saw leg warmers out front with Uno X for quite a while yesterday?
Dude, those guys, all 3 guys off the front were Norwegian. And I know it's like trite to be like, they're Norwegian, so they can race in the cold. I've noticed that team often does well in the cold, and they are often the most dressed people. Like, I think that's the adaptation. They're like, hey, when it's cold and rainy, you should wear a bunch of clothes. Like, that helps you.
Yeah. Okay. It's really hard to counter program Pog. We do have, I'll go with Remco.
Remco, yeah, not a terrible pick. I mean, the real outsider probably would be Buitrago.
Yeah.
If you think about someone that's like a killer and could win and is under the radar.
Right.
The problem with Liège, it's like the least conducive to upsets because it's so hard. It's like almost a laboratory. The reason Amstel is so fun is because the climbs are so short. So even if you're really strong, like with Pogačar, it's hard to stay up the front. Groups can work together. There's they roll because you're going up, down. There's flat. It's a fast race. Liège, it's just these climbs are way harder than at Amstel. And if you're stronger, you can attack and just stay away. Like I'm even thinking aren't the last two winners, the last four winners, I believe, are Pogačar. It's Pogačar, Evenepoel, Pogačar, Roglic. So those were, the Roglic one was interesting. 2020 was a crazy finish. I think that was a slightly different course though. And then since then it's been the 2 years Pogačar wasn't there, Evenepoel won. Right. The 2 years Pogačar was there, Pogačar won. Seems like if you're strong at climbing and you're the strongest on the day, you can just ride away from everybody, a little less tactical than the other races.
All right. I'm looking at I didn't realize that we had this feature on Pro Cycling Stats. So I'm looking at the current start list, previous performance and race. I had no idea Bob Jungels won this race. What year did that happen?
Wasn't it like 2016 or 2017? It was a weird year. It was different course. 2019. No. Fuglsang was 2019. There's some funky winners before COVID. Fuglsang 2019, Jungels 2018, and then Valverde, and then Wout Poels 2016.
Right.
Simon Gerrans, Dan Martin.
Yeah.
Maxine Oglinski. Man, I don't remember that one. Gilbert.
Yeah. And then you look at the people who have had top tens, many of whom, we're not going to see when. Quinn Herman's unsung hero of the peloton. That guy is incredible. Alexei Lutsenko, Nielsen Palace has had a top 10.
Yeah,
the moose is loose. Skjelmose.
Skjelmose, I think he crashed yesterday and looked really cold. But I mean, that's like the crazy thing about Pogačar, these Galacticos as we call them. Like Skjelmose gets a big win, is very talented, could win Liège, and then things bother him. Like he crashes, he's cold, he's not going to be at his best on Sunday.
Right.
To me, the thing that separates these Galacticos from the rest is their ability to just, none of that seems to ever really affect them, which I don't fully understand. It's just there's an aura about them. I mean, the thing is, so I was talking about someone about race tactics, like, you could have, if you had Alaphilippe and Ben Healy on the same team, you could outwit Pogačar. It's like, but that's the problem with the way these races are going. You can't, because there's no move. And really the only move, Skjelmose understood the assignment. The move is to be ahead of the move, because when the move goes, it's too hard. If you're not one of the best riders in the world, like, and I mean best, like could win the Tour de France, you can't stay with them. So if an outsider is going to win Liège, they have to be ahead of the move when it happens. And it's probably going to go on La Redoute. It's going to be intense. And if someone wants to win, if Buchargo wants to win, if Ben Healy wants to win, Palace wants to win, they have to find a way to be ahead of Pogačar or Evenepoel when that happens.
The road will decide.
The road, what if it's like a snowstorm, they do a raffle. It's like, the road did not decide. We got. But before we go, this is just something I've been kicking around in my head. Our sponsor, Join Cycling, we were both getting very fit using this app. Would highly recommend it. But I was thinking, what are we going to do with this fitness, Andrew? And then, you know what? The thing that pushed me over the edge it's like, Andrew's going to the World Tour. It's going to be great. It's like kind of a joke. I look at Paris-Roubaix 2025. I look at the start list for EF Education First, Easy Post, whatever that team's called. They have multiple riders that were like 22 and under who aren't going to do anything. And they're there, I guess, just for experience. I would argue throwing like Colby Simmons into one of his first top pro races at 21 and it being Paris-Roubaix is not helpful to him at all. Same thing with like Max Walker, 23. He did finish Roubaix. He was in the breakaway. But like Jack Rutten-Gray, some of these guys, like this is probably going to set them back. It's not a good race to like get experience in at that age. And then you have multiple riders on teams and you're thinking like, what is like, there was someone on Jayco last year who just like actively didn't care. And you're like, that roster spot could go to anyone. These teams, you were talking about the Rockets. What is that? The Unibet.
Yeah, the Cheatham Rockets. Yeah.
Yeah, like really good at YouTube. So you'd think, well, let's say a team that's trying to just get noticed, break through the noise. Would it not be more useful for them to hire like you and Kip Taylor? It's just like two corporate executives are thrown into the world of professional cycling. And then you guys have a YouTube channel and you document it. Like instead of like EF clearly had spots to fill at Roubaix, they threw these young riders in. Maybe instead of throwing those young riders in, it's like, well, throw in Kip and Andrew. They're probably not going to win. They might not even make it to the cobblestones, but they're going to have a story to tell, and they can at least like be in the pack. Like, like we'll get stories back from that. That's going to be interesting. I kind of think that is not a terrible idea just from a content perspective. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that most of the people who are watching these races are people like us, and their fantasy is to actually be there, and they don't like maybe not even necessarily being in the race, but just get to experience like what's happening around the event, to get to experience that pro level equipment preparation, get handed those ginger carrot rice cakes like fresh out of the hot box and the team bus, get to use that Segafredo espresso machine, like whatever the case may be, apply hair product together, see what it's really like, learn whether Wout has a blonde spot or he dies, And I think that bringing that story from the inside and not going back to this Theo Vaughn thing of, if people are too much behind the glass, then the people who are looking at what's happening will not trust the glass anymore. You just have to disintermediate this stuff, and it has to be real. And I know teams try to do this. To me, 99% of the time, it's like it's a bit off. I actually really like what the Tinema Rockets are doing, because it seems more genuine and real and less like there's a filter to what's happening. And you could say, well, the riders could just hold up a camera. They're good at riding bikes. They're not professional storytellers. And unfortunately, it's not always great. So that's why if you run a world tour team, I am extremely busy with One Real Voice, helping Masters of the Universe thrive in high stakes, long form conversations. You can DM me at Hardway Pod if you're one of them and you're serious about being great. But I could set aside 2 weeks in July for the right team at the right price to go over and tell this story. So I think I'd be willing to make that sacrifice and be away from my young family.
To do the Tour de France, but you're only scheduling 2 weeks or a few weeks?
A few weeks. A few weeks.
I think the tour could be a stretch if a team gave you a spot at the tour. Can you imagine? It's like people's entire careers. They've been trying. It's like, I kind of want to. So there's a race. There's a race during the tour called the Tour of Austria. Good race. So I'll never watch it because it's during the tour. Kind of would make sense to throw you in there. Like, let's get some eyeballs on the Tour of Austria. Obstacles to this, we should name them. I think it would do numbers. Like a YouTube channel like this would do really well. Issues that could arise inside the team might be some like, what's going on here? Why is this guy here? And then also with other directors and things like that, you could just get like, I don't know if this is a good idea. This seems like a joke. Potentially those you could never overcome. That's just too hard. But I don't know. It's something I've been thinking about, where if you're perfect example, Team Picnic Post-NL. When's the last time you thought about that team, Andrew?
Just now, not much before that.
They are hurtling towards relegation. They've not won a significant race this year. I thought Stana, wow, what a boondoggle. They really duped this Chinese company. No, they did not dupe this Chinese company, because I thought, well, there's no way they can catch Cofidis. They're probably not going to catch Cofidis, who was the last ranked team in the relegation standings. They will catch Team Picnic Post-NL, though. Their surge of points has them basically, they're like 1,300 points behind Picnic Post-NL. And at the rate Picnic Post-NL is going, they're going to be out of the World Tour. They do not come from a country that has any relationship with, like, there's no Grand Tour in the Netherlands.
Right.
So they're going to have a hard time getting wild cards. Like, they need something, and they need it bad, and they need it fast. And like that, actually, it would be called a publicity stunt, but I don't know. I'm not convinced that it's not like, it could be worth looking into for a team. Like, do you remember when Joao Cordeira, that he's now an agent, but if you remember, he was like a executive at Bicycling Magazine or Road Out Publishing, I think. And then he went and rode for the Cervelo test team. And like, I thought this was fascinating. It's like, wow, can you imagine, like, just a regular, not really a regular guy, because he was a crazy talented racer in his youth, but just, that was fascinating. I felt like, and I thought they could have done more with it. And obviously he found the racing very fast, as you would, but I thought like, wow, that's quite, because he's appealing to the person that you would want to be a fan of your team. So I don't know. It's not nuts. Look, call us up. Call Andrew. He'll set some weeks aside to race the Tour for you.
I'd even go to the volcano. I mean, that could be a good place to start.
But that's like where
Honestly,
we want.
the thing that I'm thinking about right now, and I enjoyed getting to watch this, and I appreciate that they made it. It's just not that interesting to me to watch a set of terrified young people in their late teens trying to get on a world tour team in Zwift Academy, who are like, they're just absolutely terrified and holding on for their life, versus like, send me over to it's not going to be Alpecin de Koenig, but I don't know, like, send me over there. I'll be relaxed and capable of telling a story and showing people the things they're interested in, versus worrying about whether I'm going to get dropped during the VO2 max sprint test behind the scooter trying to sprint against Matthew Van Der Poel, which I'm not going to win.
Yeah, I actually, it's a really good idea, because I would love to get like your inside take on what that camp is like. And it doesn't mean that like they could still invite the young kids. It's not like an either or.
Yeah,
totally. There's no allotment. He's like, well, you could have everyone you want and plus Andrew. And he's going to, you know what you're going to do? You're going to come back and you're say, wow, those guys are real fast. And you're probably going to speak more positively about them because you've been around them in person.
Yeah. And I could use some hair tips. I have pride in my hair. I work hard on it. They can take me to the next level through caffeinated shampoo and styling products. We could talk Lambos, which Lambo should I get from Shepherd, the car dealership in Midcoast, Maine?
That is like, I think you would be shocked. Just like, I remember I was riding with the pro team and I didn't, I was like young, so I didn't care about anything other than cycling. And I could not believe all they talked about was investments and like money. I was like, what? Like, what the hell's going on here? These guys don't even care about cycling, but
don't even know what bike they're riding. They're not talking about their gears. Like, that's it. Yeah.
I was shocked. It's like, these guys, they're posers. They just care about money. But so I would be fascinated to get your take on that. We will let you go back to your family vacation though. Thank you for joining us.
I won't be riding. I'll be throwing. I did bring my sandbag with me. It was controversial. I brought my Mountain Tactical Institute sandbag, and I really enjoy their training programs, especially when I'm on the road. The sandbags, if you don't have sand in it, very compact. Roll it up, put it in my bag with my TRX. I had to make a pit stop at a hardware store to buy $5 of sand. My parents are here, and my dad, of course, was like, I can't believe that you're going to go buy this bag of sand. What's wrong with you?
It's like methadone. It's like, Dad, you don't understand what the alternative.
Yeah.
He's bringing a bike down here.
Yeah.
Because you're getting off easy with the sand.
Yeah, this is simple. This is the easy stuff, Dad. Yeah. All right. Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Andrew. And we will talk after Liège.